In a few days, Harry Potter Wizards Unite is going to have their first event. Brilliant event, fantastic Flora and Fauna. Now, while the event itself is only a little exciting, the big draw is the fact that we're going to get access to restricted section books. The event payout is expected to be 15 restricted section books. So, of course, if you've been spending any time looking at your profession tree, you've been wondering, where do I get these restricted section books? Well, it's from these events. Now you have to question, where am I going with my first 15 books? Well, that's why you came to this video. I'm going to help you out deciding what the best investments are for your skill tree, and I'll put up some math behind it too. Also, if you want some skill tree specific information outside of the restricted books, well then subscribe to SwagTips. I will have those videos coming up later this week. Maybe if you're watching this in the future, they're already up now and linked in the description. Now, this video is following my article on GamePress, so if you want to reference any of this material outside of a video, you just want like a written format, well then make sure to check out this article, link in the description to it. So starting out, we have the R class, and if you go to the R class tree, also on GamePress if you want to check these skill trees, the two best investments I see initially are going for Dancing with Dummies or to boost your Hex. So if you want to go for a more solo route or a more general damage route, I'd say Dancing with Dummies is probably your best bet. But if you like to do some more team support, then it may be good to go for boosting your hexes. So Dancing with Dummies is pretty nifty. It's when the enemy is at 100% stamina, you gain plus 35 precision. Usually I'm pretty against precision and critical damage. Link in the description to my video going over that. But 35 plus precision is enough for it to be worth it. Definitely worth the cost here. Quick thing I want to note about Dancing with Dummies is that it's actually bugged right now, so it's not 100% enemy stamina, it's after your enemy's first attack, which is weird. So you can attack them and hurt them, and they'll attack you and you'll protego or whatever, and then your next hit will have the boosted chance, which is weird, but I guess it's just how it's coded right now, but it still works. You still get the boost, right? So how much of a gain is this really like on average? Well, I got a nice table here on the article. You can see that if you have 73 base power, which is a pretty good estimate to where like a mid-level like player should be at, and that's your average power of 82 with the critical and precision factored in. Well, with Dancing with Dummies, your average power goes up to 101, so that's an increase of 19 average power for that first attack. Now, it doesn't sound like a whole heck of a lot, but 19's pretty dang good. Now, when you are at max investment, when your skill tree is like basically fully maxed out, that does translate into 184 from 142, which is a 42 power gain, which is, now we're getting kind of significant here. So that's pretty nice. Another cool thing with Dancing with Dummies is that it combos really well with the skill First Strike, which is plus 50% critical damage when the enemy is at 100% HP, which once again is yeah, the bug there. So you'll still get that, it's still there, but it's just different than how it's worded, right? And then here we also show what that Dancing with Dummies plus First Strike damage ends up translating into in relative power. Now alternatively, you could go for powering up your Weakening Hex and your Confusion Hex. By taking this Confusion Hex skill right here, you open the door to another initial focus, which is pretty nice for party play, because you'll have more enemies that you'll want to be dotting up with your skills, and you'll have allies with cool skills that you might want to fuel with that extra initial focus, which is nice. Now, if you're comparing the Weakness Hex to the Confusion Hex, I would say that the Confusion Hex has a lot more value, especially at the higher tiers of the towers. So if you can, try to focus most of your gains towards the Confusion Hex. But as you know, this Confusion Hex here, the cheaper one, is gated by another improved Weakness Hex, so you might have to bite the bullet, go for that. But if you're already pretty far along in your skill tree and you feel confident in your amount of scrolls, then you could just power up this boy right away. And then when it comes to the future and you get your next 15 books, then yeah, you may as well max out your hexes and go forward with that. Next up to bat is the Magizoologist. And the Magizoologist has a very straightforward progression as far as what you want to do with your points here. If you are unaware, there's only one skill that truly matters for Magizoologists, and that is Become the Beast. When you're at 5 plus focus, so 5 focus or more, you get plus 40 power. You become the Beast, which is insane. It's really good. So that's where all 15 of your books are going to go, except, we have a problem. This lovely skill right here is gated by this skill. You cannot go up, back, and around. No, you have to go down, which means you have to take Luna's Stamina Charm. Now, Luna's Stamina Charm isn't a bad skill. It's just, it's not Become the Beast, but it costs 4 books. So your first 19 books go into Become the Beast if you think about it. But you only get 15 books per event, so yeah, you gotta wait a little bit longer. So yeah, Luna's Stamina Charm to set up for you being able to become the Beast, and then all works out in the future. Well, now you're probably sitting back and you're going like, well, I got 11 books left over, and I got these other skills down here. What do I do with these extra books? Well, for one, you do have this initial focus here, so you'll definitely want to take at least one of this guy, because the initial focus combos with Become the Beast, because you want to have a bunch of focus as soon as you can so you can use that bonus right away. And then as far as your last 4 books go, it's honestly up to you, to be real. You could just max this out because why not? Or you could take this one to increase the revive energy of your revive by 10%, and then you can also unlock some extra defense if you ever want to pick it up. So that's a good idea. Another spicy thought that you should consider in the back of your mind, especially after you get Become the Beast and you're wondering where to go with your next 15 books, this skill, the Amplified Bravery Charm, is pretty freaking insane. So the Bravery Charm in general is really good. It's 60% extra damage to elite foes, which is really insane. But for each 4 books you stick into this, it's another 30% power, which is crazy. So yeah, definitely not a bad idea going for the Amplified Bravery Charm early on when you have those 4 leftover books, and then after you get Become the Beast, because it's really good. And you might be thinking, Ryan, this costs 7, and I need to maintain 5 plus to maintain my Beast mode. Okay, you tell me what's better, plus 40 power, or like, what is this, plus 150% damage? What? Like, do the math, and then on top of that you get 12 focus overall, so if you spend 7 you still have 5. So yeah, Amplified Bravery Charm after you get Beast mode. And this finally brings us to Professor, one of the most controversial classes in the game. The reason why it's controversial is because they have this Hex that is extremely good, but recently Niantic nerfed it in half, which has some high wizards there scratching their chins wondering just how good the Professor class really is. At any rate, the Hex is still really freaking good. So if you're wondering where to go with your first 28 books even, there's 7 different Hex boosting nodes. And I'd say those Hex boosting skills, nodes, sometimes I call them nodes, all really good. So this guy, bam, that's 8, and then bam, and then there's another one, bam. There you go. I just solved the first 2 events for you there. They just all go to boosting that Hex because your Hex is so ridiculously good. Now, after your Hex is all figured out, you got it completely amped up in damage because it's so nice, well then that's when you want to consider this skill here, Confidence. If you have 1 buff on yourself, you get plus 6 defense, which is really lame. Definitely not worth 15 books. But you know what is worth 15 books? This. Yeah. The Divinating Details. Initial Focus plus 1, which turns into Initial Focus plus 2, which is definitely worth it. Really good skill right there, because now that you got this super good Hex, you can use it more often now that you have this starting focus. You're like, blam, hexing right away. Nobody's asking me any questions. Now, because of the Hex nerf, some people have been questioning, should I just take this right away so I can get the initial focus right away? And I don't think that's exactly, the most optimal way to spend your points. To each their own, though. If you are a soloist, you really don't play with a lot of people, and for whatever reason you're playing Professor instead of R, well, then it could be worth it, because then you could use your Charm on yourself right away, giving you plus 16, and then you get the plus 6, so plus 22 defense as soon as you start the dungeon, because you really aren't going to want to use your Hex because it's going to be so ridiculously weak because you're not pumping it up. So that is a second route. If you want to go for that route, up to you. As far as me, I'm a Professor. I'm going for the Hex damage. So take that for what you will. And there you have it. The most ideal ways to spend your restricted section books as soon as you get them for at least the first 2 events in Harry Potter Wizards Unite. Now, if you want to know about further restricted book spending in the future, well, subscribe to SwagTips, and I will have that video guide up probably a couple events down the future. And if you do want some more details about the skill trees themselves, I do have some skill tree videos coming up later this week, so subscribe to SwagTips, check them out, and figure out how to best optimally spend your scrolls to increase your wizard power. And if you got any questions on this content, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out.